Good evening, everyone. It's Boxing Day evening. Jordan just finished off his stream. I'm going to be doing work on an Enterprise Z, so I figured why not just have an impromptu live stream. Don't know who's going to be here. Don't know how many people are going to be here, but might as well go for at least a little bit. And I'm going to be doing the work anyway, right? So let's get right at it. First of all, let's see. Ken says, I can see you and hear you. He has preempted my normal housekeeping duties, so that is awesome. Thanks. And TrekMod says, I guess I can work while I watch. Well, working while I watch is what I do. In fact, while Jordan was streaming over on Aligning the Stars, I got some more of this work done. And I'm going to be continuing to work on the pinstriping because I want to get more paint on this model and get the work done on it and get it to the client as soon as possible and get a project off the bench. Because as soon as this one's done being painted, I've got another one that has to be painted just like it. So we'll get going on that. Nothing new since yesterday. Just gonna be working. So what's everybody else working on? Because I don't think we talked about that over on Jordan's stream, what everybody's working on tonight. Got some fresh tape. Oh, and I need to pull my reference up on the other screen so I can see what I'm doing. Just as a reminder, we are working on the pinstriping along here. So during Jordan's stream, I got this section in here done. So now I'm going to, well, at least this section on this side. So I've got the equivalent section on the other side, which I'm going to have to find another picture for the reference on that one. But then I also have these sections in here to get done as well. So yeah, lots of work to do. So we might as well get right at it. So TrekMod says Excelsior refit and upgrades. All right. So who all do we have so far in the stream? We have Ken, we have Eric, we've got Skull, we've got TrekMod, Stephen Haynes, Models is in the I can't talk. Is in the house. That's what I was trying to think. Let's see. Eric says, Andrew, how was your Christmas? Any new toys or tools? No new toys or tools. We've got some new Star Trek ornaments. We've got the Enterprise B and the Protector from Galaxy Quest. So those will go on the tree next year. And I've got a new Star Trek mug. Let's see. Everybody is just saying hi to everybody. That is cool. All right. There was something I just thought of that I was either going to say, show, or do. But do you think I can remember what that was? No, I can't remember what that was. Oh, well. Yeah, I just don't remember. So I think I do have to do this side, but I think I'm going to start with this section over here and get that done up because I've got the reference for that on my screen. And when I do this section over here, I'll need to pull some other reference shots just to kind of get a better idea where everything is. So as per always, I think I might have cut this piece of pinstripe a little bit too thin. Yeah, I think I cut that one a little bit too thin. So let's go grab another one. Dash says, Andrew, does your wife also enjoy Star Trek as much as you do? No. Nope. Try to get her watching it, but no, she does not enjoy it like I do. Okay. I'm gonna have to cut both ends off of this piece. It's the straight edge slipped a little bit as I was cutting, and the top end of it was a little wonky from the last bit. Actually, I cut that wonkiness off, so we're good on the top end. It's just the back end. I can't see a thing because I took my glasses off. It's just the back end that we're going to need to make sure it gets trimmed off before we use it. So, yeah, this is a much better thickness. So we're going to start with the edge. Now, when I go to lay paint on this, I was thinking about this today. I didn't go through the process on the other pieces, but this is really the main kind of visual section here on the top. I'm going to lay some base coat down over my masking before I lay the other color down, just to help protect against some paint seepage under the tape, because these pinstripes are so very thin. And sometimes a little bit of paint gets underneath, especially at the intersections of the tape where tape pieces overlap. So if I spray a little bit of base coat, or even not even just the base coat, even if I just use some of the insignia white that I have, that'll just help these lines be just that much more crisper. Crisper is not a word. A little more crisp and clear. So, yep. All right. This one's just being a little bit troublesome, getting it perfectly aligned. It is just like so close to the edge of the panel, but it has to be like really close to the edge. It just doesn't want to go over the edge. Let's see. Ken said, Andrew, do you ever talk about Star Trek when you are rapping with the youth? I don't do any rapping, that's for sure. All right. Crisper most certainly is a word. Oh. Apparently. So I have said slippy all my life. Apparently slippy is not a word. And I don't know if that's just a Canadian thing. Is slippy a word outside of Canada? Like the driveway is very slippy? I know that you could also say the driveway is very slippery, but I've always said slippy. Curious if that's a thing anywhere outside of Canada or outside of Ontario. Because again, things differ wildly across Canada depending on where you are. Like in Ontario, if you want to buy milk, you buy it either, you can get it in small cartons, but generally if you're buying like 4 liters of milk, you're buying it in bags, right? But that's not the same all across the country. In some places they do have milk jugs, but here in Ontario we have milk bags. They come in three bags of milk in a bigger bag, and that's like the 4 liter. What would be the equivalent of a 4 liter jug? It's always interesting what differs between like regions. I mean, accents differ greatly between regions here in Canada. I mean, obviously the Western Canadian accent is more the stereotypical Canadian accent. We also have the Newfie accent, which is different yet again. So I'm not going to be able to use this because it gets too wide at the end because the straight edge slips. So I'm going to grab a fresh cut and discard whatever comes off because it's not going to be straight. And then I'll be able to cut a new straight piece. Let's see. Oh, Ken says, I have never heard slippy. Yeah, definitely a thing around here. So definitely, clearly not across the country. If you say it and people understand, then it is a word. Maybe. Skull says not a word. Checkmod said, when I lived in Toronto, many people asked if I was French. Is that just because of your accent, the way that you speak? I cannot do a French accent. I can speak French. I cannot do a French accent, like a proper, like either a French Quebecois accent. I can't really do that, and I can't do a French Quebec accent either. Now, I used to be able to pull off a bit of a Newfie accent, mostly because when I was in school, I roomed for the year with a Newfie who, well, actually from Lab City, so not from the island, but same difference when it comes to speech. And although his accent wasn't too thick most of the time, but boy, did it ever get thick when his parents came to pick him up at the end of the year and he was talking with his parents. Because I had no problems understanding him most of the time. But when he got going with his dad, it was it definitely piled on the thickness there. All right. Here we go. We were talking earlier on Jordan's stream about live streaming and trying to keep the conversation going while you're live streaming and how that's like a learned skill and stuff like that. Gotta say, it's definitely certainly helpful when you've got somebody else on your stream like Jordan did there. When you've got somebody you can talk to and bounce off of. Yeah, that's certainly a benefit of being part of a modeling group and a shared streaming platform. So that's really cool when that happens. Let's see. Trekmod says a lot of francophones when I grew up, and a lot of francophones where I grew up, and it rubs off on you. Yeah. Like when I was rooming with the guy from Lab City, there's certain things that would rub off as far as speech goes. Caught myself saying I loves it a few times. Loves it with the S on the end, right? And there we go. Getting started on these panels is really easy because I know they all need to have the outline pinstripe on them. I'm going to have to lay this one down again because I pulled it down a little bit and there wasn't the overlap I needed. Let's see. This one's fighting me a little bit just to get it straight and to keep it where it belongs up top. There we go. I was completely not planning on streaming. But then when Jordan said he'd be finishing around 9 or so, I'm like, oh, well, if the kids are in bed, I'm going to be working on this stuff. Maybe I'll press go live. There we go. Skull says, what's a francophone? So la francophone, francophone is somebody who is natively French speaking. As an anglophone would be a person who is naturally English speaking. So we have a lot of francophone and anglophone people in Canada because our two national languages are French and English. Now, we have a lot more people who speak English than we have who speak French, but we've got an entire province, which is one of our most populous provinces. I'm not sure whether Quebec or Ontario has a higher population, but there are two largest provinces by population, and essentially the official language of Quebec is French. There is an English population, but the majority of people are French speaking, and they have some fairly stringent language laws within the province, as Quebec is considered to be a nation within the country of Canada, be their own unique and distinct nation within Canada. So they've got some language laws, as like French has to be first and most prominent on store signage and all that kind of stuff. So it takes a little bit to get used to, but we have the two languages. And so anyone who is English speaking by birth is an Anglophone, and anybody that is French speaking by birth is a Francophone. And then it's quite common to take French in school. And it's quite common to take something called French immersion in school too, if you want to become more fluent in French. Now, I took French immersion from grade 5 through to the end of high school, but it was half-day immersion, so it was half-day French, half-day English. But here, where we're currently living, there's the opportunity for kids to have French immersion, all day French, right from kindergarten, right from junior kindergarten up. So that's much more beneficial because you learn languages more intuitive at a younger age. So kids who do that are much more fluent in both languages. And if you want to do anything, government related here in Canada, you really have to have both languages. Especially if you want to do anything political in Canada, if you want to run for government or anything like that, then you really need to have both official languages, or you just can't get very far. Like you would never be able to, well, I shouldn't say never, but it would be very difficult to become a party leader and become the Prime Minister of Canada without being able to speak both official languages. So hopefully that kind of clarifies it. And Trek Mod says a French-speaking person, yeah. And that we are Anglophones. Skull says, I never heard that one. Yeah, well, it's quite common. They are words that you become quite familiar with here in Canada. Yeah, never heard of that. Stephen Haynes Model says, never heard of that. Yeah. I have no idea what the equivalent native Spanish speaker would be, because I know in the States you guys have a lot more native Spanish speakers than you do anything else, right? So, okie dokie. I'm going to switch back to show you the studio model here. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit to the section we're working on. So I've got the outlines done. Next, I think my next line is going to be this one that transects about halfway through and goes all the way through to the other. If you see me moving my head, it's because I've got the model in front of me and I'm trying to see the screen in front of me. So I'm kind of looking around the warp nacelles. So, yeah. Oh, Jordan's here. Did you get some food? What are you doing for the rest of the evening, Jordan? You can always hop on a live stream if you want. Let's see. Ken could also hop on if he wanted to. Trekmod says they just say Hispanic. I guess that's true. Yeah. That would have been that's the simple thing. People are saying hi to Jordan. Yeah, and Jordan comes in to prove I'm a real boy. Yeah, people saying hi to Jordan. Long time no see, since we just finished with your stream not too long ago. So I need another, to do this piece, I'm going to do one straight piece across the Great Divide here. So I'm going to cut myself a fresh piece and run it right along there. We've got 10 people watching, and I didn't publicize this anywhere, so that's pretty cool. I didn't have time to publicize it. Literally, as Jordan was finishing off, I was trying to get my video assets ready, like my thumbnail and stuff, because I thought, well, might as well. All right, so we are looking to go about halfway on this joint. So I'm going to go... Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Wrong screen again. A service I provide. Jordan says, haha, Ian and I just got done chatting after the stream. I can pop in here in a bit. Going to grab some food. Very cool. Glad your stream got started properly. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with yours. Like, I could get into the studio and I could activate the voice only, but it wasn't doing anything. And it looked like Todd was able to activate the voice only thing as well. But you couldn't get on if you were running a camera. It was very, very strange. But yeah, it worked out. It worked okay for me. And last night streaming, I didn't have any trouble either, because I impromptu streamed last night too. Although I had a little bit of extra warning on that one. So I'm going to pick here, which seems to be about halfway. Try to get, oh, and it came up. Oh, again, I'm on the wrong screen. Again, a service I provide. It's free of charge. Being on the wrong screen is a service I provide free of charge to my viewers. Well, let me try this again. Of course, nothing here really lines up where it's supposed to with the studio model, because the proportions are all, the proportions on the kit are all out of whack to the studio model in so many areas. It's got a little bit more of a curve to it than I want. So let's try this again. Does not have that much of a curve. That was a little bit too little of a curve. This would be a benefit of the masking set if I could get the pinstriping to work properly. I've been having a terrible time trying to get the pinstriping to work, which I understand is probably an end user issue, not a mask issue, but I mean, it is what it is. If this wasn't a commission build, then I might take some more risks with the masks, but ultimately this has to be up to the commission building standards that I set for myself. And so that means that I'm reverting back to my old way of hand masking for certain sections of this. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Ken said, did you want to change camera? I'm not sure what you mean. I just was going back and forth between the screenshot of the studio model and the project that I'm working on. That's kind of just what I was doing. Oh, Jet's here. Welcome, Jet. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Andrew. Well, thank you. Same to you. People saying hi to Jet. It's Skull says people don't speak Hispanic, they speak Spanish. Yes, but people don't speak Francophone, they speak French, right? It's the designation you give to people who naturally speak a language, right? Yeah, and people just saying hello to each other. Awesome. Go. All right, now the trick's going to be getting this curve to look the same on this side. Now we're not there yet, but that's going to be a trick. All right, now let's go back to the studio model. We've got this line done, so I'm going to run these vertical lines down here, and then the horizontals here, and then this line will give me an anchor point to start this curve, which will go all the way back, and then it'll come this way again. So let me get these vertical lines in, and then we'll get this overarching swoop back in. I'm going to save the longer piece I have here and grab one of the shorter pieces. I've got to do these smaller bits. So let's switch back to the model. There we go. Let's see. Ken says, sorry, Andrew, I sent the camera comment just as you switched the camera. Oh, you were telling me to switch it. Right. Okay, perfect. I got it. That's the issue with chat viewing delay. Not that you're delayed, it's that I'm delayed. Okay, so I'm lining up just in front of the first window there. So let's get that on. Okay, then I've got another one just past it, like so. And then I've got one. You know what? I should probably zoom this in a little bit so you've got a better view of what I'm doing. There you go. So I've got to put one just at the back here. Just about so. Okay. Just make sure it doesn't stick to my hand and come off. There we go. And then just the other side of these three windows are two lines close together. In fact, one is pretty much in line with the line below it on the studio model, so we'll try to do that here. That's horribly not straight. That's better. And then we're going to lay one down. And just to show you what I'm referring to here, once I get my mouse there, this section here is a double. So it's very close, but it's a double line. So we're going to lay that down. And then as soon as I get this one laid down, I'm going to check on the chat again. There we go. Somebody's revving an engine outside. Congratulations, you have an engine. There we go. Just going to move this one a little bit just because it's bugging me. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay, let's check in on the chat. Trek Mods says, hey, Skull, there's a channel called Rob Words where he teaches about languages and dialects. It's super interesting. If you are into that sort of thing, I'll watch anything I can learn from. Cool. But Skull's not into foreign languages. All right. Okay, we've got some. Let's switch back here. I need to get my fade button on a hotkey. Anyway, we're going to do this cross section here and then this small cross section here. Then we're going to take this line all the way over here. So that's what we're going to do. All right, moving on. So this one is going to start about here. And there we go. It's going to terminate right here. And then it's just a little piece right along the bottom there. Okay. Now for the longer swoopy bit. Again, we're going to have to eyeball this. And it starts. Ooh, and that's even angle. I don't even know if you, I don't know that you can see that, but it's angle cut exactly how I need it. It's going to start here. It's going to swoop above, just above these windows. It's going to come across, down through these windows. And how close do we take it? Well, we're going to take it as far as it's going to go. Naturally. There we go. Cut that off right there. That's still in frame. Okay. And then we need to take a piece. I'm going to have to, well, this piece might be long enough. We'll see. I've got to take it, straighten the end out here. From here, it's got to get very close to the other one. Try to keep it equidistant all the way across. Yeah, this piece will be long enough. Go. Bring it across. just about like that. And there might need to be a little bit of adjustment I have to make. There we go. Have a look at that. Tell me what you think. So, gets a little bit too close in the middle here, so we'll just slightly adjust that. Just have to be careful nudging it so that it doesn't become wibbly wobbly. No risk of it becoming timey-wimey, but there we go. Let's see. Ken says, I see several cases of really close windows where one is lit and the other is not in your reference photos. Yeah, so like these ones right here. I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong. I think it's an oversight when they were making the studio model, just like the one down in the corner that you can't really see because the comments on. Let me turn it off. This one down here. Those are the same room. So I look at a grouping together as being the same room. So all the windows of those should be the same. And that's how I approach it. And there's no point going through and matching up on-off windows to the studio model anyway, because it's a living, breathing crew on the ship, and they're turning lights on and off all the time. So just do what you think looks good for the way you want it, right? But I do prefer having those grouped together. Jordan says, I honestly wonder what their thought process was on the ass-sucking for the E, and I wonder how much digital design had to be done with it. Yeah, you'd have to ask John at Wonderfest. Jet says to Jordan, greetings, fellow traveler of the cosmos. May the stars guide your journey, the nebula inspire your dreams, and the infinite universe align to bring you wisdom and peace. That was a mouthful. Trekmod says, if I ever get a chance to build this model, I will definitely refer back to these videos. Cool. I mean, there's 100 million different ways to go about building each individual section of these things, right? There's no right or wrong way. But I mean, it can be helpful to go back and refer to build videos. So, all right, let's get back to the model here. So I need to separate these on the Great Divide. So listen for that lovely click when the tape is cut. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's all of that. Good. All right. Now there are a few other small lines that need to go in. Jordan says, that was fantastic, Jedi. I wish the same to you and yours. Hope all is well in your corner of the Pacific Northwest. So I don't know what's considered the Pacific Northwest, but yeah. All right, I've got a line that has to go all the way through. So it's going to go, well, the windows don't really perfectly align, so we'll throw that in there. Don't like how that's aligned, so we're going to lay it down again. That's better. I'm curious. So for those of you who are here in the chat, this type of work, it's high detail, very fiddly. It's very detail oriented. Do you find this kind of work relaxing? Or does this kind of work just drive you up the wall? I'm curious. Curious what you think about this type of slow, tedious, high detail work. Because I actually find it really relaxing doing this type of thing. I also find opening the windows very relaxing too. There we go. So that's separated in there, but perfectly aligned since we made it one piece of tape. Ken says watching someone else do it is relaxing. But what is it for you to actually do? You know, and it doesn't have to be like this exactly, but I mean like this type of high detail, fiddly, intricate kind of work. Like I think of Donnie, who does the very, very small, intricate, hand painted stuff, right? I mean, that's an area I have not gotten into, and I wouldn't even know where to start with it. But it's similar. It's very high detail, fiddly, very little room for error kind of stuff, right? So, let's see. Eric says relaxing and informative. Trigmod says much more relaxing than some other artistic endeavors I've tried. Yeah. All right. Next piece. This is where I try to use up some of the smaller pieces. Now this is going to be closer than it appears on the studio model, but there's also an extra window here that's not supposed to be here. So like I said last night, you need to take some artistic license and just make it as close as possible. You know, just closest to the actual retail price without going over. All right. That line is in place. And I think I need a new piece. Although I've got a fairly long piece here. So I've done the front bit up here. So I need to go from here across over to here. So let's lay that piece down. Starts. When my hands on their way, you can't see what I'm doing. This is going to start. If I can get this piece straightened out. Start about there. And about that far down. We're going to just mimic the curve on the piece on top of it and join it there. There we go. Some of these sections are fairly busy. All right, and then there's going to be a piece that goes roughly here. I need to cut this straight. It's angled on there. So we're going to go roughly about 2 inches. 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 here. It's going to just reach up to that bottom line. The bottom of the two really close ones. It moved a little bit, so just have to reposition it. And then I've got another line close to these two windows, and it should be roughly in line with this little line here. Just going to put it really close to those windows, but we'll see how it works out. There we go. I think I got that perfectly lined up. When you're working on this type of thing, you can definitely tell how squished and out of proportion the different sections of the model are versus the studio model. All right, let's quickly see what I'm missing. I'm missing a piece over here. Right about. Sounded like my voice was cracking there, right about there. There we go. All right, I'm going to give this a quick look over compared to the studio model. Just make sure I'm not missing anything. Looks good here. Take a quick peek at this, and then take a quick peek at this. And I think we pretty much got that matched up as best as we can, given the sizing differences between, well, let me see. If I turn this, let's move some of the tools. If I turn this like this and just de-zoom, I can't move that over anymore. So let's move the model over a little bit. So here's the model. Oh, and here's the studio model. The model. Let's just zoom the studio model. I mean, the kit model in a little bit. Let's see if we can just line this up so that when I fade, it lines up. I mean, proportions are definitely out in certain areas. But again, like I said, the proportions of the studio model versus the kit are just not the same. So there we go. Yeah, so that's what the pinstriping on this section is looking like. Let's see. Truckbot says guitar work is pretty calming and rewarding. Jet says a queek. Yeah, new word. Ken says, yes, I find this type of work is great for mindfulness, where you become unconcerned with your problems and concentrate on the model. That's a good way to clear your head. Skull says, I clench my jaw when I do this type of work. Sometimes I make weird noises, especially if things aren't going right, like, or, you know, those kind of noises. Yeah. All right. So that side is done. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. Flip the model around. And let's see. I'm going to take a quick look through my reference shots and see if I can find any better visual reference. The problem with most of the shots of the studio model we have available to us is that they were taken out in the hot California sun, and the sun has bleached out in the photographs so much of the detail. Makes it really hard to see. So I might just have to I've got some photos, but I don't think I have anything that's going to be quite as good as the photo we were working on. It's just unfortunate that photo cuts off at a certain point. So let's work from the good photo as far as she'll take us, and then work from other references when necessary. So this gets us pretty much the whole weird shaped panels here, but it doesn't give us the narrow panels on the other side. The one thing I do know is all the edges need to be done. So I can at least get all the edges done and not have any issues with making it look accurate. So let's get started on that. I'm getting tired already. It's going to be a bit of a shorter stream than normal because I didn't start when I normally would start, because I was just hoping to kind of carry on from where Jordan left off. Okay. Boop. I heard a bloop. Let's see. TrekMod says, I'm trying to work on things that don't need to be recorded, like masking off chiller grills, so I can keep watching. Cool, cool. Well, if you have to take a recording break, go ahead and take a recording break. So we may have...
Hello.
Hello. The setting must have gotten changed back to having the vocal avatar.
I think I still have yet to explore actually doing that properly. So there could be that,
Well, I'm gonna throw some headphones on so I don't get you repeating back in my microphone.
Sounds good. Sorry, I should have forewarned you.
Well, I did hear the boop, and I saw it in there.
I heard you. I was watching on the stream, and you're like, "Yeah, finished right where Jordan left off," and I'm like, "You entry."
Yeah. Let's see. Let's connect these AirPods. They're connected. Hopefully, I can hear you through my ears now. Say hi, Jordan.
Can you hear me through your ears now?
I can hear you through my ears now. I got to turn the volume up a little bit, but we should be good. Say something else again.
Say something else again.
Okay, good. I can hear you.
Beautiful.
I'm going to take one of these out because I don't know how these are a different set of AirPods. I don't know how long the batteries are going to last on those, so I'll conserve the battery. There we go.
Right before I popped in, I keep thinking how much of a shame it is that we don't have a proper replica of this model. Number one, I know that they did 3 different versions of the ship for all 3 different movies, and I know all of that, and it makes me sad because we know so much about the Enterprise D. We know, it's just been much more available for all of us to kind of see. And the
Well, we have
models
so many more reference photos too.
exactly, and it's such a shame that they didn't. Like, of course they're not going to think about it, but it's real selfish of us as modelers to like look at it and go, why couldn't you guys be thinking about people who want to recreate this later on? Right? Like, why weren't you thinking about that? Like, why did you have to go outside and photograph that outside in the California sun? Outside? Did you use blue lights on your cameras? No, you did not. Like, so it makes me sad because what you're doing here, like, as much as I want to build this model, this both captivates me and terrifies me, because the work is, as they've said, both relaxing and jaw clenching.
Yeah. Well, if the studio model ever comes out for public display, I hope somebody gets really, really good photographs of it so that the modeling community has something much better to go on, right?
Todd, for instance. His photographs of the Enterprise D is just out of control awesome. So that'd be amazing.
Yeah. Although even between, and I know this because I'm living the Enterprise D right now as well as the E, but even with Todd's great photos, there are still some sections that we are missing. Right. There are some sections where we are missing just really good up close views, especially on, and the same thing with this, especially on the port side. We tend to get a lot of photographs on the starboard side,
of course,
but we're missing a lot on the port side. For whatever reason, it must just be the way that they're always displayed. But I think I cut this piece just a little bit too narrow. Let me try again.
Oh, let's see here. So Jody is saying, I'm Trek Mods is trying to keep work. I'm trying to work on things that don't need to be recorded, like masking off chiller grills so I can keep watching. Streams are the best place for like working on things while somebody else is talking. It is a fantastic thing to do. On masking off chiller grills, that is tedious work.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm very tempted to mask and paint the chiller grills on these rather than use the photo etch this time around.
So, that's interesting. So there's a photo etch that's on top of that.
Yeah, because I can do this, right? And if I can get this straight, then I can paint instead of using the photo etch parts to go on top, which then will look a lot closer to what the studio model looked like, right? The trick's just going to be getting that striping to be nice and straight.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull off, but we'll see.
Are there on the plastic in the model? Is there like proper in scale like lines drawn into the plastic, or is it?
There are lines, but I don't think that they are proper to the way it's supposed to look. So I typically sand those down flat.
Got it.
Yeah. And on the studio model, I think they're painted, right? So.
Right.
And they're black lines in between.
Yeah. It's interesting. They took such a different approach to this generation of ships. Like, they kind of established, the look and the feel, but like all of the other Starfleet ships after this, up until maybe Picard, were really intricate with their designs and kind of went against kind of those traditional like black lines on the nacelles. Really? You're going to do that? Which looked really cool, obviously, but it is interesting that they kind of took a different approach.
Well, I think after 7 years of one design aesthetic, which pretty much permeated the entirety of next generation DS9. As
And
far
Voyager.
as ship design, Voyager got a little bit
A little
different.
bit of a departure. Yeah.
But I think it was nice to get a little bit of different design language in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love, and I think one of the reasons why I love some of the ship designs so much is because they were different. They weren't just variations on Galaxy class parts, right?
Right, exactly.
So like we've gotten in Next Generation, we got the Constellation, which was just a variation on refit parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to have some in a way non-kit bashed designs, because the Akira
Right.
was very different, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was in a similar vein in that it had a saucer and lower slung nacelles, so it was in a vein similar to, say, a Sutherland, like the Nebula class or a Miranda or something like that, but
Mm-hmm.
it was also very much different. It had the pontoons that were on top of the saucer, and it had that deflector part of the saucer. And it was different and fresh and new, and kind of exciting that we were getting these new type of ships. And although I'm not the biggest fan of the Steam Runner or the Norway class.
Same.
They were cool because they were different, and we hadn't seen that style, right? That design language, and it was nice to get some fresh in there, because with Next Generation, essentially we got the Galaxy class, we got the Nebula class in various configurations, and then we got Excelsiors.
Excelsior and Miranda's,
and Miranda's and Oberth.
And Oberth's,
so we got rehashes of everything, and just not a whole lot of fresh, which I understand the budgets and stuff like that, right?
Of course, yeah. When you finally get a proper motion picture budget, you're going to redesign things, of course, and I love that too.
Eric says, Andrew, this ventriloquist routine you're doing is fantastic. How do you change your voice so well and talk
crazy,
over yourself?
Isn't it? Right? It's super crazy.
Yeah. Trekmod says, I hope you are still on when I come back from picking up my wife. This is great, but priorities, yeah. Do not leave your wife stranded anywhere. Do not do that
at all.
Yeah. Jet says, hey Andrew, you should have Mr. Aligning the Stars on as your sidekick as a regular thing. Every good podcast has a sidekick. Yeah, well, this is not a podcast. A podcast is something very different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Whenever we can make the stars align. Oh man, yeah. I'm here all night.
Eric says, I agree. The level of fandom and knowledge these two have really make for a fun and interesting watch and listen.
Love it.
Yeah. All right, and I'm just realizing that what I'm working on looks like it might have been off camera there, so I will reposition to.
It wasn't off camera for very long, actually.
Okay. And just looking on, so I've got little bits of tape stuck to the edges of the base that this is currently on, so that I can try to make use of the smaller bits as I can. So I'm going to.
Chase says,
something has entertained.
Chase says, Andrew, can you drink water while Jordan speaks? I mean, look at this. This is crazy stuff. I am a ventriloquist. I am talking. He is drinking. And he finished. We are two separate people. Come on now. Oh, it's hilarious. Yeah, I was looking at the Steam Runner class earlier today. I was doing some research. I'm getting ready for the next Starships collection ship arrives tomorrow, and it's the Stargazer, the Sagan class Stargazer from Picard season 2. And so I was kind of doing some research, watching some YouTube videos, and looking in through Memory Alpha and through the Apocrypha and everything like that, like trying to get as much information as I can on my fictional ship. And the Steam Runner class just kind of kept coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I looked at it, I'm just like, God, you're an ugly ship. I'm so glad they made you. Because the Oberth needed a ship to have a run for its money. The Steam Runner and the Norway, both of them, the whole design, everything about it, very chunky. Like, can you imagine it'd be like a Norway class or a Steam Runner? Like, it would be what you would expect like Makos to be on. Like if they still had Makos in the 24th century, like it would be like a armored personnel carrier type ship, where it's super utilitarian and boring on the inside. Like ugly. But
you know what? I don't think I have this on this computer because the series was done so long ago. I don't even have a picture of it here. So anyway, so you know what ship works really well for the same type of use that those ugly ships are really meant for? Which is a much more aesthetically pleasing ship.
What's that?
The Nova class.
The Nova class. Oh, so
like the Equinox.
Equinox. Yes. Those couple of episodes of Voyager were fantastic. I agree. That very utilitarian. It was almost like a Defiant with Defiant class with nacelles, like actual proper nacelles.
Well, it was actually taken from some of the rejected design concepts for the Defiant.
Yeah, and wasn't it also loosely based on a design that was at the beginning of the technical manual by Rick Sternbach, if I'm not mistaken?
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's in the back.
Yeah, let me actually have that right up here. I haven't looked at this thing in a little bit. I brought it to Wonderfest with the intention of having Rick sign it, but then I forgot to have Rick sign it. So gonna bring it back to Wonderfest and hopefully have Rick sign it this year. Super cool.
Right here.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah.
Is it at the very beginning or the end of the book?
It's at the end.
Yeah,
I've had this at say hand's reach because I've been looking at what could be done LCARS wise with this.
Oh yeah.
Right?
When you were a kid, did you trace that?
Oh yeah. I traced all the images out of there. They were on my work folder, the folder we made for our work to hold our work at school. So grade 7 or 8, I can't remember which one it was because I had the same teachers for grade 7 and 8. But my folder for holding the classwork, had the various views, line-drawn views of the Enterprise D.
I love it. That is so cool.
Traced directly from that specific book. That exact
book.
Man.
You think you're such a nerd and you're the only kid doing that, and then you find out later in life that it's just not the case. That is so cool. I remember reading this thing. I'm just flipping through it right now, and just my childhood's coming back a little bit.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't, out there in Chatland, if you guys have not seen the technical manual for Star Trek: The Next Generation, you should. It is very, very good. Yeah. It is fantastic.
Mine's in rough shape. It's been well used over the years.
So is mine. Yep.
I'm still
I've had
using
mine.
it for reference for the Enterprise D projects, right? So
Yep. It came out in 1991. And it starts with the foreword by Robert F. Kennedy. That's super cool. Things that I glossed over as a kid. Wow. In conclusion, in chapter 17.2, the road to 1701E. I wonder what they say.
there's a lot of things I wish they would have documented better.
Yeah.
Like I
what?
wish they would have documented the sets better.
Yes, agreed.
We have lots of views of what they wanted the cameras to see, but we have so little reference for the set, like the sets being sets themselves. Like what portions of the sets were wild for getting cameras in there? How did they run everything on the backside? We've got some pretty good shots of the backside of the Toss Bridge, but we've got almost nothing behind the science and engineering sections at the back of the TNG bridge, right? There's like
very true.
There's no reference. There's never been any shots of where the actors left the bridge to go to the conference room. There's never been any shots in around the corner of Picard's little alcove area where where the replicator is, where the bathroom is supposed to be. Like we don't have any out of the set images of that.
Very true.
I think one of the coolest videos was from Enterprise. I think it was part of the special features of the season 1 DVDs. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was. And they showed some of how the set pieces work. So they showed how they made the drink dispenser work in the mess hall. Literally, it was they open up a panel on the other side of the wall, and they've got a tube with a funnel, and they literally just poured the liquid down through. But then they took the cameras behind engineering, and because the warp core went into the wall of engineering, it was actually open on the back, and you could see how they had set up the lighting and the different things rotating to create the effects on the outside, which was really cool. We'd never seen anything like that before.
No, and now that you mention it, in every bit of media that they produce for the behind the scenes stuff, you never actually see any of that. You're 100% correct. Like
so they'll do set tours, but they're only showing things that the cameras already have seen. So I want to see outside. I want to see how the sets are joined together, which we've got some blueprints and stuff like that. But to see behind or like all those kind of things, that's why even though it's horribly I'm just making up new words all over the place tonight.
Right.
Although it's horribly lighted, terribly filmed, but the Stage 9 interloper video was actually cool from the standpoint that we got to see some extra behind the scenes stuff that we hadn't ever seen from those Stage 9 sets before.
Man, just to be just imagine just being able to walk around those sets. That'd have been something.
I mean, they did damage, and they actually them being in there delayed filming.
That's
for the next few days because they had to fix stuff and redo stuff. But we actually got some really cool, albeit in almost darkness, but we got to see some stuff that we just had never seen and they've never shown since. Like even the fact that engineering was also a hallway with plugs that could go in and out, but was also exercise rooms and all kinds of stuff. They never showed any of that They never showed how they made use of their sets, which I think is a little bit of a loss.
It really
right?
is.
Like, I would have loved to have seen shots. So if you're standing in engineering, you're looking at the pool table, the core is behind you, and you're looking at the MSD on the wall. There's the hallway that like cuts across, right?
Side. Yeah.
I'd love to see like what they had set wise behind there, how that was how that stuff was constructed. I'd love to see inside the warp core, but we're never going to get those kind of views, right? Unless like Michael and Denise have pictures somewhere that they've kept hidden and they get published one day. You know, we're just not going to get any of that.
Yeah,
But
it's unfortunate.
How many times in Hollywood or something do people just not realize the value of what they've created for that's temporary for a TV show?
Right.
So much stuff is just.
Well, it gets lost of time. It all gets time, right? You know, and that's what makes like what the Knight Rider historians are doing very fascinating, because they're just like on a relentless journey to try to pull up as much stuff that's left from there as possible. It's very cool.
Jet says you should do a spaceship USS Orville. That show is much better than the Star Trek of late. I would love to build a good-sized Orville, and the lighting,
it's amazing
with the addressable lighting, allows the those engine rings, like the effect that you could do on those would be really, really cool. It'd be so accurate to the show, which I appreciated that as much as they could, they used a physical model, at least for the first season of the Orville. And there's just something about a physical model that you don't get with the CG. One of the reasons why I never watched Babylon 5 when it was on, because I couldn't get past the CG. Everything was so and I never understood why I didn't like it until a friend of mine just put his finger right on it. Everything was in focus. Everything was crystal clear in focus. So when they did the CG work, they didn't take into account depth of field for a camera. And it just made it look like an animated TV show.
Yes, it did.
So had they taken that into account, I think it would have been a lot better. And I probably would have been engaged in watching it when it was first on. So that's something I'm going to do. I'm going to go through, thanks to Todd, I'm going to go through and watch the entire series of Babylon 5.
Nice.
Because I've only seen little bits and pieces of it.
Oh, it's a fantastic show. It's I think Jet says it great right here. He says, I love Babylon 5. I thought the stories were a lot more realistic than Star Trek or some of the other ones out there. There's actually a bit of grit or dirt involved in the story. Yeah, it's much more of a, I agree with you on that front. It's much more of it's more of the story of the human condition, right? It's less about the sci-fi and more about, well, humans are here, but we're still humans, right? We're still going to do what we're going to do and find that people across the galaxy really aren't that different. And it is fascinating.
Ken says, okay, I'm going to lay here with my eyes closed and let your great voices put me to sleep.
Nice.
Jet has the artwork of book. I'm pretty sure I've got that on the shelf somewhere. Skull says, I'm surprised no stagehands took shots of behind the scenes. I mean, it definitely was not as stringent as it is today on sets, but I would imagine that even back then, it would have been very difficult. Plus, not everybody had a camera in their pocket back then, so you would have had to have actually brought a real camera onto set, and I'm sure that they were probably very strict about that type of thing, right?
Yep. Yeah, having a camera back then was like you were doing something.
Now, something I wish. So there's two things I wish they would have done. Oh, I'm gonna have to recut this because it started curling right as I was cutting it. Oh well. You may not actually be able to see me cutting the tape on screen. I'm just going to move that over a little bit.
There you go.
I wish that when they moved the TNG sets after the first season, and then built more like 10 forward, etc. I wish they would have set up the bridge and the conference room sets so the conference room could have been directly behind the bridge set, and we could have had a follow shot from the bridge down into the conference room. So that's number one thing I wish. Number two is with the Voyager. If you look at the ship, there's a lot of space behind the bridge on the same level. I wish they would have built that out so that action, because they had action going from the bridge into the ready room and from the bridge into the conference room, and that was all really good because we actually could walk from the bridge into the conference room there. That was fantastic. Right. But I wish we could have, left Janeway's office and gone into those hallways and behind, or left the conference room, or that hallway from the bridge that you just saw people walk through. I wish we could have seen even some of that, but I know costs and stuff like that, but I think that there was a missed opportunity there.
What was interesting, I think, for Deep Space Nine, for instance, was the building of almost the complete promenade. And it really allowed for that storytelling that you're talking about, like with good camera angles and the options for shooting. Like it does make it interesting, like how they chose to do it with some stages. Like obviously the promenade, they have to do that, but that decision.
They built roughly a third of it, I think.
Right, but a very large,
which was a limitation of how much space they had. I mean, they used a very large soundstage for that, and they built as much of it as they physically could.
Right.
Which was great. Although even that said, there are some shots where they were filming right at the very end, and I remember one, it was Kira and Odo walking by the very end of the promenade, and they made the backdrop that continued the promenade move by the airflow of them walking by it. So that immediately broke the illusion. But I mean, overall, they did a pretty good job. Overall, that was more well done in general than the stupid Jeffries tube plugs, the continuing artwork for the Jeffries tubes, because those weren't even the same color.
Yeah,
and a lot of times on DS9, they just used the TNG ones, and it just looked completely out of place.
Yep. Poor DS9. The redheaded stepchild of Star Trek.
Don't get me wrong, I really like DS9.
That was my favorite show.
And again, there's some set stuff that I wish we would have been shown, which is just lost to time. Like, I wanted to see the bottom of the ops lift.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just, I mean, a lot of times I was more interested in how they did things than the actual things they did, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to see how it was done. And that's something I wish we would have seen. I wish we would have seen where that, like, how the actors got onto the lift. Did they have to write it down and then write it back up every time? Because, like, stairs. So, like, stairs in sitcoms, they'd have to go up, they'd have to hide up in the stair compartment, and then they walk down just like they were coming down from an upstairs. Like, was that the same thing? Or could they board that elevator, that lift thing, from below the set? Because I know that set was built up quite a bit, right? Because they had to have O'Brien's pit down in there. It was all multi-level and stuff. So, like, I'd be curious to see how that worked. But we've never been given that opportunity. We got a lot more behind the scenes set tour of Stargate than we ever have of Star Trek.
Very true. And it's interesting is the approach that, because I'm also a huge Stargate fan as well. Like, the approach that the filmmakers and the showrunners had for each one of those series, like, Star Trek was, lack of a better term, very closely guarded because it was Hollywood, right? And they were under, like, they're in Paramount and all of that. Stargate, they're kind of like freelancing it up in Vancouver and doing their own thing. And so, I don't know, like, also as well, Stargate was coming out, like, did you ever buy the DVD sets and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've got them all.
Perfect. Same. And so they were almost filming their behind the scenes knowing that they were creating like DVDs and production.
Yeah.
Whereas Star Trek wasn't, and so it's very interesting, like how, like, if you even look at Enterprise, like if you look at Enterprise's behind the scenes stuff, it's a lot more intricate and detailed and involved, because by then the straight to DVD market was big and in play. And
so Trek Mods, he says, I'm back, and he says it looks the same. Trust me, I've gotten work done. I've gotten more very thinly cut pieces of tape on.
You've actually done quite a bit there. It looks amazing.
Jet says there are developments in Babylon 5 universe, animated movie Babylon 5 The Road Home, released in August 2023. Cool.
Yep, he's also developing a new show.
Live action reboot, a reboot of the original series is in progress. Initially associated with the CW, the project faced delays due to network ownership changes and industry strikes, which has plagued so many, like all those kind of situations have plagued so many of our favorite shows. Yep. Let's see. As of 2020, April 24, creator J. Michael something or other confirmed that the pilot script has been presented to potential buyers, with several expressing interest. The team is awaiting responses. And you know what? And we're dealing with exactly the same thing with Stargate.
Yep.
There's been rumors of a new series or something for years now, and we were supposed to get something, and then Amazon bought out MGM, and then it was on hold, and then Amazon wanted to do something, but they're trying to figure out what they're doing. And it sounds like they're rebooting it, which I don't really want. I want the story.
Don't need to reboot Stargate. You don't need to reboot Stargate.
I don't need to watch the original Stargate movie again, just with different actors, which is, it sounds like that's what they're going to do.
Well, that was the plan. Like, I think Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich, who did the Stargate movie, they obviously went on the next year to do Independence Day. So they made Stargate, and then they made Independence Day, and that took off. Then Stargate kind of got left off to the wayside, and MGM took over, and with Showtime, they created, the TV show. And like, I know that Dean Devlin a couple of years ago was like, I don't like anything that SG-1 was. I hate that show. I want to redo it. And he's like, I had a plan for a trilogy of movies. And so one of the plans was a couple of years ago, he was going to do Stargate 2 and try to get, the actors to come back and do it again, and just never gained any traction because everyone was more invested in SG-1 than, what he wanted to do. And I was thankful for that. I was worried because he was basically trying to decanonize SG-1 in a way. It was very one of my very first email addresses was on gateworld.net. Was one of my very first email addresses. So yeah.
I'd love I'd love to find out what happened to the Universe crew. I mean, to the Discovery. Destiny
Universe
crew.
Destiny crew. Yeah. Agreed. Destiny was. Yeah, I was about to say. I know that Jet worked on that.
He said I worked on a few of the Stargate series, like Stargate, Atlantis, Stargate Universe. And I think I had a few days on Stargate itself, I think.
That's so cool.
They made really good use of those sets that they built.
They really did.
And they did a really good job. So they've got a lot of behind the scenes for Atlantis, the Atlantis set. And like they show where the stairs go to. right? Which is just something that's kind of cool for those of us who want to nerd out and know how it was all done. But if you've ever seen the set tours for Universe, the set tours of the Destiny, those were really, really well done ship sets.
Yeah,
so well done, and they were multi-level. And they could reconfigure the way that hallways looked, so they looked like different hallways. They could like bring panels down and move them up and put them away like cupboards and stuff. And just
that was the culmination of 15 years of Stargate being made. Like they knew what they wanted out of their next series, you know, and they had so many amazing actors on Universe. I still feel like I get why people were upset with it, but like the actors, Lou Diamond Phillips and what was the lead character's name?
Which one?
No, I know. The doctor. Oh God.
Oh yeah.
Why can I not think of his name right now? It's on the tip of my tongue. Dr. Rush was his name, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Nicholas Rush.
Nicholas Rush, yep. Why can I not think of the actor's name? Gross.
When Universe was done, he went off to work on Once Upon a Time.
That's right. Yep.
He played
also the
Rumpelstiltskin.
Yep. Oh God, I can't think of his name right now. There was also the guy who played Colonel Everett, who had done a lot of cool things, and then David Blue was very good.
Yeah, and then there were all of our Canadian actors that we only ever see in Canadian-produced shows, like Stargate Universe, Continuum, a bunch of other stuff.
Yep. God, Continuum. That was a brain, or the brainchild of Amanda Tapping and a couple of the other Stargate guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I know she had a show that she was doing.
Yep.
But I didn't know she was involved with Continuum.
Yep. She was one of the producers. She's now directing like across all Canada these days.
Yeah, she's gone the route of like Jonathan Frakes and LeVar Burton and
Yep.
Those guys. What was something to do with Continuum? Oh, are you familiar with Doctor Who at all? I mean, you're in America, so I would guess
little bit. I've seen enough to understand and stuff like that.
Okay, so the guy who played Alec, young Alec, in Continuum.
Mm-hmm.
So, because there was young Alec and then there was old Alec in the future.
Yeah.
So the guy that played young Alec, somebody Knudsen, Eric Knudsen, I think. When he was on that show, Peter Capaldi was the Doctor on Doctor Who.
Okay.
And Eric Knudsen, I thought looked like a dead ringer for a young Peter Capaldi, and I thought, if they could only do a show of Doctor Who where the Doctor gets de-aged for some reason, he would be the if he could do the Scottish accent, then he would be perfect to be able to do that.
Huh.
But I haven't seen that kid in he's not a kid anymore, but I haven't seen him in anything since Continuum.
What a time for sci-fi back in those days. The fact that Stargate went for 218 episodes. Insanity.
That's just SG-1.
Yeah, just SG-1.
Not counting
100
episodes or
the movies or the Atlantis.
Universe.
Yeah, Atlantis got 100. Atlantis got 100 episodes. Universe got 40 episodes? Because they were still making 20 episode seasons back then.
I think so.
Yeah. I actually have. Do I have it? I still have it, do I? Do I have it? I have very few DVDs and Blu-rays left, but I think I still have it. I guess I don't. Huh. I thought I had the season still. Yeah, I think there were 20 episode seasons back then still. So yeah, like 40 episodes. So that was what, 218, 318, 358 episodes is what Stargate got. Insanity.
Yeah, well, and even with 10 seasons of Stargate SG-1, when they ended the series, they were expecting a season 11.
They were.
Which is why it ended the way it did, and then why they had to do Arc of Truth afterwards.
Yep. Arc of Truth was actually very good, like straight to DVD movie. They did a really fantastic job of wrapping up that story. I was worried that they weren't going to do it right, but they really did.
Yeah. Well, when I heard straight to video movie, I thought it's not going to be any good. They won't put the money into it, and
yep.
The visuals, like even the opening visuals.
Oh,
I mean, just set it all really right as far as I was concerned. So,
and they captured the entire tone of the series in those movies as well. I really liked in Continuum where they finish off the Gould storyline, you know, with Ball and everything like that. I really appreciated that. It sucks that Cliff Simon has since died because he could never reprise his role.
Well, I think is that the guy that played Ball?
Ball, yeah, he died in a surfing accident about 10 years ago.
Because I know they started off with Apophis and they focused on Apophis for so long, but I think like the guy that played Ball, he was just I don't know how to say this other than to say it's better. Come try it.
Come try it. Yeah. He had this. The best bad guys are always the ones that kind of have a likable quality to them. There's something about them that you're like, you know, maybe I could like you, maybe just a little bit, you know, sort of thing. And he had that just with the personality. He was all personality all the time. And he was a perfect foil for Jack. Like there was like the way they played off of each other was
he was better than Apophis because I found Apophis to be a little bit two-dimensional.
Wow, you know, if there was a better way of putting that, I don't think there is. Like that 100% perfect nail on.
As a character, he was quite two-dimensional.
Yeah,
and I thought that Ball was better than the big baddie, the big bad Goa'uld that was part ascended.
Anubis.
Anubis, yeah. Like I thought he was better than Anubis. Like I thought he was the best of the Goa'uld bad guys.
Yeah, agreed.
All right.
Ken says, anybody else miss the 20 episode seasons?
Oh, yeah.
I do, man. It was so nice. Like it Jody says, I do. Everything is over so fast now. I agree.
Like I don't understand why they've made that switch. I mean, I know that it brings them in line with what the UK does with so much of their stuff, but it's like the seasons keep getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and they're not seasons anymore. They're just like mini series.
Exactly. I think one of the best examples of that is like, I don't like to use it as a great example, but like South Park, for instance. South Park was doing 20, 25, 30 episode seasons, and you could tell that the writers just stopped caring after a point, right?
Yeah.
There comes a point, and they're like, okay, we're only going to do like maybe 5-6 episodes a season, but you're going to get everything from us, right? You're going to get the best that we can possibly offer you, and then all of the episodes that they put out are fantastic. It's weird to use that in a sci-fi modeling context, but like, it sometimes like I really don't want, the Kess episode in a season. I really don't want a Kess episode.
I mean, like we don't need shades of gray in season 2
no,
of TNG, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, so like
So there were fillers.
But in those fillers, though, you get some amazing moments. Like, I can think of a filler episode with who's the guy from MASH that played the love interest of Troy, or Luxana Troy, on David Ogden Spears. When he came in and played the guy who's had to accept his death because he was turning old. Like, that is absolutely a filler episode, but you get this amazing actor and a story that kind of leaves you thinking a little bit. Like the Tuvix episode, 100% a filler episode where they didn't want to pay either Ethan Phillips or, Tim Russ. That episode, they wanted to pay a guest actor, and so they're going to meld the two of them together, and we're still talking about Tuvix 25 years later.
Well, have you watched the last couple episodes of Lower Decks?
Yes.
So I'm not going to say anything because I don't want spoilers in case somebody hasn't watched it. But when a certain group of character get together and get talking and ask about Tuvix, and then it just like cuts off there and it's not dealt with. Perfect.
Yep. It's perfect. Lower Decks. Have you seen the last episodes?
I have, yes.
What do you think of the ending without giving anything away?
I thought that they were great episodes. I think that they've set it up to do what they want with it later on.
Yep.
I cannot get just on a modeling thing. I cannot get a really good view of this little section here. So I'm going to have to just look at the one photo I have here, which is this one.
Oh,
and it's not great in here, but there's a line here, I think. So I'm going to have to like just do my best. And I have to actually like zoom out a little bit to try to see the lines just because of the resolution of these pictures, right? I think this is my best shot of it, but these pictures are so washed out.
What size was the shooting model?
You know what? I am not sure. That size.
It looks fairly big, probably 6 feet, maybe. Yeah, that looks like 6-footer.
Probably.
Wow. Yeah.
But one of the reasons why they got rid of the D was because they wanted a ship that was easier to film.
Yeah.
Because the D was a pain, especially the large scale one. But it was a pain to film. Yeah, I think that this shot is probably going to be the best I get. And really, I'm going to have to make it up as I go here. So I'm going to get these few lines on, and then I'm going to call it a night because it's
getting late for you.
Yeah, it's getting late.
It's 11:30 for you.
Yep. So I'm just going to kind of randomly put these on, make it look in spirit like it should.
Eric says, and missed the 60-minute shows being 45 to 50 minutes a show. Now a 60-minute episode is like 30 to 40 minutes, and then the rest is commercials. Yep.
Well, the rule was that you had 44 minutes in an hour show, or 22 minutes in a half hour. And the reason I know that is because we used to have a comedy show in Canada called This Hour Has 22 Minutes.
22 minutes. Yep. Fantastic sketch show.
Yeah. Although I enjoyed Royal Canadian Air Force better.
That was also very good. Yep, man, that spent just enough time in Canada when I was a kid to remember all that.
Mhm.
Jody says money. The cost of production these days doesn't allow for much development. You're 100% true on that. Especially like with Star Trek and Star Wars, for instance, like they're now Star Trek Beyond, like all of the Tyler Sheridan stuff, like Yellowstone and everything. Star Trek is pretty much well carrying the Paramount Plus network, and Star Wars is carrying Disney Plus. Like Andor. I know that this is we're doing a Star Trek thing, but Andor, the next season of Andor is going to be $640 million. Like they made all 3 Lord of the Rings movies for $230 million, and they filmed them all together. Obviously a different time, but
And
one
we've had a lot of
season,
inflation.
correct. But one season, 12 episodes, $640 million. Insanity. Insanity. Trek Mod says, new series, Starbase 80. Yep. We're all assuming it's Starbase 80. Like, obviously, they're setting up. They've been talking a lot about it in Lower Decks, and Tawny Newsome and the other producers that are creating the show want to create an Office-style live-action TV show, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was Starbase 80, but without spoiling it, that might be a little bit difficult with what they just did at the end of that season. Ken asks, couldn't you use photos of your last build to see how it is laid out?
I could, and I've done that, but I'm assuming I've just done the same thing on that build since I'm working from the same reference photos. So I would have, I will have guessed in the exact same areas I'm having to guess on this. So, I mean, it's questionable whether the previous version was accurate. Now, I've got to say, my pinstriping is going to be more accurate than what the pinstriping on the mask design set is. Like I said, the mask design set is great if you can get the masks laid down perfectly the first time. And I think semi-transparent or transparent masks would really help with that, because it's just really hard to see to place down exactly, because you have to get it aligned perfectly the first time, because then there is no grace with those masks. If it touches and when the pinstripes touches, you're done because the pinstripe is destroyed. But that's not the main reason why I've gone to doing the hand masking for these sections. That's because let me go back to the ship here, because I've got the studio model on screen. Again, wrong screen is a service I provide here on this channel. But let me, because I think I'm done masking for the night. I'll do this stuff another night. And then I'm going to put some base color down just to seal in the mask so I could get less leak underneath. But here, this is a good view here. The studio model has multicolored Aztecing in here, and the same thing in these areas. I didn't reproduce that the last time. I didn't notice that the last time, which I'm finding, like, looking at the studio model again, I'm finding things I didn't realize the first time around. So because I've seen it, I want to reproduce it. And so I'm going to be reproducing the multicolored Aztecing pattern in here. And I've really thought through the masks I have, and there just does not seem to be an order of operations that I can use these masks and get the multiple colored Aztecing going on in there. So if you only want to use the two-tone Aztecing pattern, then that's great. The masks are great if you can get them laid down without destroying the pinstriping, which I'm just struggling with. But if you want to get the multi-tone, so you can see how there's the the base color Aztecing, there's the darker Aztecing, and then there's the medium gray paneling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Along with the base color pinstriping. So in order to get that, I have to do multiple layers of masking and painting to do it. So I have not figured out an order of operations where I could make use of those masks, and get the multicolored in there. And so since I saw it on the studio model, I want to try to reproduce it here. And so that means going through the process of hand masking these sections. I'm going to continue using the masks wherever possible, but my priority has to be getting it as close to the studio model as possible for my clients. And so I'm not going to sacrifice that just because I'm testing out these masks, right? So
you have to do this all again, don't you?
Yeah, on the second one. So yeah. Well, I have almost gone for 2 hours. I was only planning to go till 11 like I normally would, but it's almost 11:30. So I am going to call it there. Thank you, Jordan, for coming on. It's always nice to have somebody to talk to verbally. While doing these things. But let's see. There's a few extra chats here before we close it off, because Jet says, I grew up with the XL5, Stingray, Thunderbirds, Joe 90, Captain Scarlet, UFO. Very nice. Cool. Let's see. Jet also says, other house, Voyager to the bottom of the... Oh, Voyage to the bottom of the... I read that as Voyager. Voyage to the bottom of the sea, Time Tunnel, Land of the Giants, Lost in Space. Yeah. Ken says, thanks for the great show, Andrew, and thanks for the assist, Jordan. Entertaining and educational. Well, thank you, everyone, for being here. It's on Boxing Day. Take a look at the thumbnail for this video if you can. Actually, let me pull it. They've changed a little bit here on StreamYards, but this was the Boxing Day thumbnail I made. I thought it was appropriate. So
it was clever.
I was working on that at the end of your stream, Jordan, because I was like, I think Jordan's ending around 9. My kid is going to bed. Maybe I can squeeze in an extra little stream here, being Boxing Day once Jordan's done. I always thought it'd be cool to do. So I come from a Minecraft content creation background. That's where I got started in content creation. Mm-hmm. So I used to make Minecraft content, and it used to be where SMPs, server multiplayer, so multiplayer servers that were content creator based, like servers like Hermitcraft or things like that, would do stream days where everybody who participates on the server together, they would go from one to the next on a weekend. And so it would be continuous nonstop streams, and everybody would kind of hand off to the next person kind of thought. I'm like, there's a modeling group. It'd be kind of cool to do that at some point, to have a stream day where everybody kind of takes like a 2-hour chunk, and the stream just goes from one person's stream to the next kind of thing, right? So kind of got that a little bit cool. It was kind of cool.
A little bit. But, that's a really cool idea. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know how well it would work or if there would be any interest, but yeah. Oh, my camera was starting to pick up audio there, so I was getting a little bit of feedback once I went full screen on my camera. I've got to figure that out. That needs to not happen for me.
Candace did something.
I'm on the media tab and they've changed things. Let me get back to comments here. Super chat. Wow. Thank you, Ken. You of all people don't need to do that. Okay. You of all people do not need to do that. But thank you very much. Very much appreciated, regardless of how much it's certainly not necessary given your incredible generosity to this channel. So certainly a friend to the channel, Ken is. So yeah, a stream day would be something that would be cool, and you could just follow from one person's stream to the next, to the next, to the next, right? It takes a lot of planning and stuff like that, but It's hard when everybody has different time zones and schedules. And like in my case, I've got kids, and my streaming hours and availability for that are restricted to certain times and stuff because of that, but could be cool. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining again. Thank you, Jordan, for chiming in and being somebody to talk to. Hope that you've enjoyed this stream. If you did, make sure that you hit that like button. If you're new to my channel or you haven't done so yet, why not hit that subscribe button today? You'll make me very happy. If you do, don't mind my eyes looking at various different things because I'm preparing what is coming next here on screen. But for now, my name is Andrew. This is Canadian Starships. Your producer tonight has been Jordan. Have a great night and Boxing Day, everyone.